Cryptocurrencies moving further into the mainstream, fueled by announcements like PayPal greenlighting the use of cryptos as a form of payment, and just last week, the S&P Dow Jones saying it will launch cryptocurrency indexes in 2021. Prices of some digital assets have skyrocketed this year, with Bitcoin up over, as you can see, 145% from 12 months ago. Joining us now, Mike NovogratZ, founder and CEO of Galaxy Digital, to tell us more. Mike, great to have you with us on the show, as always. In my mind, you're a bridge between the traditional form of macro investing and what in the past we perhaps would have called frontier investing in the crypto space. Explain what you're seeing today that closes that gap or bridges that divide.
Yeah, it's been really exciting that, Bitcoin has gone from a frontier investment to actually now a macro, part of people's portfolio. Hedge funds, institutions, corporates. You look at MicroStrategy, who bought $400 million of Bitcoin on their corporate balance sheet. Everyone is now looking at Bitcoin as a form of digital gold or as a hedge against debasement of fiat currency. And so, the institutionalization of getting good custody, of getting people comfortable that they understood it, that it was safe, happened over the last few years, and now it's arrived. And, we see nothing but more and more accounts trying to get involved. Every single crypto business like mine is working at breakneck speed because just onboarding all the new accounts, from high net worth to institutions to pension funds to endowments, cryptocurrencies is becoming an asset, not a frontier asset.
Do you think it is down to greater understanding and perhaps we can break it down to the store of value or the utility use of crypto assets and Bitcoin specifically? Or do you think as investors, and I'm talking some of the more sophisticated investors, look around the world and go, we have $17 trillion worth of debt now trading at negative yields. We simply need to find some way to diversify in things that have more room to rise.
Yeah, I think that you can split it in half, actually. Bitcoin itself is fulfilling this role of digital gold. It's just a store of value, and its adoption is accelerating in a giant way because people look at the macro backdrop of $17 trillion of negative debt, of budget deficits that continue to grow in almost every country, and a monetization of those deficits. And so it's in some ways the perfect instrument. Right, it's 21 million Bitcoin. It's a hard asset. There's no inflation or barely any inflation, and so it works for this time and place perfectly. The second big story is the digitalization of everything, which is happening, and we're at the beginning innings of rebuilding the infrastructure that American and global business will be done on in the future. And that most likely happens on the Ethereum blockchain. You're seeing almost every country look at central bank issued digital currencies. The Chinese have started their experiment. It will be ramping up over 2021. The US, you saw Visa recently announced that they'll do a partnership with USDC, which is a stable coin, right? A dollar-backed cryptocurrency. Visa's got 30 million merchants around the world. And so all of a sudden, the world is going to go from bank accounts to wallets, and people are going to hold their value, their dollars, their Bitcoin, their movie tickets on their phones. The banks are going to have to rush into this space, and you're starting to see it. PayPal was a huge event this year, and mark my words, I saw there was a big Japanese bank that decided to get, Spanish bank that decided to get into cryptocurrency just this morning, both trading and custodying. And you're going to see every single financial institution forced into this space.
Every bank saying we have to be involved, whether it's investing, allowing our customers to invest, or providing some kind of exchange to allow people to invest in these assets.
100%. If you think about it, as we get more of these central bank issued digital currencies, right? So you'll have a digital euro, you'll have a digital dollar. All of a sudden, you're going to trade digital dollars for digital euros. The infrastructure that happens on, right? The rails are the same rails that the crypto community is building, and they don't exist right now in the traditional banks. That's going to force the banks into this space. That alone will force it, let alone customers calling up and saying, hey, Morgan Stanley, hey, Goldman Sachs, hey, JP Morgan, why can't I buy Bitcoin with you guys? Right? It's a $350 billion asset. You'll sell me claims on a bankrupt Hertz, but you won't sell me Bitcoin? Like, what gives with that? And so as more and more of these bank CEOs or heads of wealth management are getting these calls, they're scratching their head and saying, hey, we're starting to look a little foolish.
Yeah.
We used to be conservative, and now we're looking foolish.
And our clients will go somewhere else if we don't provide this service. I just showed a chart showing the 12-month moves across XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum. I mean, you spoke about Ether, the underlying blockchain for Ethereum, the cryptocurrency there. Do you buy the diversification argument, or do you look at these specifically and go, hey, I see this because it's got greatest market share and therefore we're buying it? Are you invested in any of these other digital assets or currencies?
I am. I think so. We have a big shop and have a lot of expertise around the whole space. I think Bitcoin as a store of value is a really safe investment for people. I think Ethereum still has more of a venture flair to it, but it's an investment we like. And then there's a whole space called decentralized finance, or DeFi. Yeah. This is much more for the experts. But I think in 5 or 10 years, really the revolution is going to happen by taking the blockchain and bringing it to finance. And so we're invested in a lot of wonderful, smaller projects. And so I would tell our clients generally, mostly Bitcoin, some Ethereum, and then some in venture. If you're a young crypto maniac, people are trading what they call altcoins all the time. A lot of those won't have a lot of value, and some will have a ton of value.
So, Mike, for someone who's looking at this and going, I get the buzz, I want to get involved, what's your advice? Because when I talk to people about this, I say, look, invest an amount of money that you don't mind going to zero, and then you're at least comfortable with the investment that you're putting in, whether it's 1% of the money that you have to play with here. Would you agree with that idea? Just put some money to work here.
That used to be our story. It was to tell people, hey, put 1 to 2% of your net worth in Bitcoin. Worst that's going to happen, you're going to lose a little bit of it, and the best, you're going to make a whole lot of money. I've changed my tune a little on that, given the stability around Bitcoin. I now think it can be a more significant part of people's portfolio. If I look at the macro space, so I think a new investor could put 5% into Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not going back to zero. This idea that it could go to zero is not right anymore. It could certainly trade back to 14,000. You could lose 30, 40%, but you're not losing 80, 90% of your money. There is too much infrastructure built. There is too much of a community that believes in this as a store of value. And so we'll see volatility come lower. And so I'm pushing people up to 5% allocations.
How much have you got allocated, Mike, out of interest? Are you willing to tell me as a proportion of wealth?
As a proportion of my net worth, my kind of overall crypto exposure is probably 50%.
Wow. Yeah. Good to hear, Mike. Great to have you on, and come back and talk about decentralized finance, because we have to talk about this, because this is ultimate disruption, I think, for financial services, and it's a fascinating sphere. We just have to make it relatively simple for me to understand, quite frankly. Mike, great to chat to you. Thank you. Mike NovogratZ, founder and CEO of Galaxy Digital there.